Sri Lanka ප්‍රථම වරට SLT 4G වෙතින් දැන් Pure TV නරඹන්න. ඉදිරියටම ගෙන යන SLT 4G.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, marking a milestone, religious observations take centre stage in the President's birthday celebrations. Dereliction of duty, more backsliding of police revealed before the Easter attacks Presidential Commission. Keeping momentum, more Underworld figures arrested. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Saturday the 20th of June 2020.
Nava Sunlight Sakura. Then Dikukal Pavatina Sakura Mal Suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Hamdike Kanaka. Let's start with your local stories. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa celebrated his 71st birthday today with religious observances taking prominence among his celebrations. Accordingly, the head of state took part in a series of religious activities which were worked off in Anuradhapura during the day. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa participated in a series of religious events organised in Anuradhapura in line with his 71st birthday today. Pertaining to that, the President took part in making an offering this morning at the Ruwanveli Saya and then engaged in religious observances conducted by the members of the Buddhist clergy led by Venerable Uduwe Dhammaloka Thera. Family members of the President, along with cabinet ministers and parliamentarians, were also present at the occasion. The head of state also participated in an almsgiving worked off in the morning. President Gotabaya and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa then called on the chief incumbent of the Ruwanveli Saya, Venerable Pallegama Hemaratana Thera. Following the audience, the President had a candid discussion with the people present at the premises. The head of state then arrived at the Mirisavatiya Stupa and engaged in religious observances. Meanwhile, President Gotabaya called on chief incumbent of the Abhayagiriya Purvarama temple, who is also the chief prelate of the North Central Province, Venerable Potane Dhammananda Thera yesterday. The head of state was praised by the Thera for the leadership he gave in tackling the COVID-19 pandemic in Sri Lanka. The President then visited the Kuttampokuna temple and blessings were invoked on him by chief incumbent of the temple, Venerable Ihalagama Pawarakitti Thera. Now, High Commissioner of Pakistan in Sri Lanka, Major General Muhammad Saad Khatak, believes that Sri Lanka and Pakistan can achieve an ambitious target of $2 billion in trade. Speaking to Indivari Amath on our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24 recently, Khatak also ventured his thoughts on SAARC and BIMSTEC as well as their comparative potential.
Trade between Sri Lanka and Pakistan. This is a big question. How do we look at mutually beneficial trade? In year 2009, bilateral trade was just over $320 million, but there is a massive scope for this.
I had a number of meetings with the Export Development Board and the relevant agencies. Before we signed the Sri Lanka-Pakistan Free Trade Agreement back in 2005, Pakistan was exporting about $100 million worth to Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka was exporting about about 45 to 46 million dollars export to Pakistan. After the free trade agreement, the Pakistan's exports to Sri Lanka rose to 369, in the last year. And Sri Lanka's export to Pakistan rose to about $100 million. But that's not enough. The capacity that the two countries has mutually, bilaterally, is about $2 billion worth of capacity that we have, that we can trade amongst ourselves. And that is where we are going to be really hitting at. We are prioritizing, our meetings are really focused on that. We are trying to go around, we are trying to sort of resolve the non-tariff barriers that we have on both sides. When we address those, I don't see any reason why the trade between Pakistan and Sri Lanka should not go to the target that we have. That.
What are the real challenges approaching an enhanced trade relationship between the two nations?
Pakistan has, by virtue of its size, by virtue of its population, has got bigger capacity to export to Sri Lanka. So that is why the balance of trade will always be in front of and in favor of Pakistan. And it's so unfortunate that Sri Lanka has lost that tea market to Kenya, in Pakistan. Pakistan, let me tell you that everybody from top to bottom has a very heavy consumption of tea. So we were also discussing this with our colleagues in the relevant departments as to how we can assist Sri Lanka in reclaiming that space that it had historically and it has lost to Kenya. The Sri Lankan tea, why it has lost the Pakistani market was primarily because of the price differential. Tea is being consumed by everybody in Pakistan, so the lower strata of people also consume tea. So if the tea is not, the prices are not compatible.
So premium price for Ceylon tea is not...
Yes, the price is not compatible to what the Kenyan are offering tea. We were talking of the non-tariff barriers. There are issues related to the shipments, there are issues related to the air travels, there are issues related to cargoes, there are issues related to certain non-tariff tax levies that are being imposed, because of which the product does not become really palatable.
Is this common to both nations, or is it, High Commissioner?
I think it is, no, I think it is somewhat common to the products, certain products of both countries. I don't see any reason why can't we find answers to those questions to improve our bilateral trade according to the capacity that we both have.
I'd like your observations in moving forward, how SAARC can work together here, because there are common questions about how strong SAARC is. India, Pakistan, the question of bilateral relations between India and Pakistan.
It's very unfortunate that SAARC that came into being in 1985 has tremendous potential of delivering to the teeming millions of poor people of this region. It has not taken off because of, unfortunately, the bilateral relationship between the two countries, but more so of hegemonic sort of attitude by one bigger country with the rest of the countries, that it has not really taken off true to its potential that it has. Ever since 2016, when SAARC summit was planned in Islamabad, that has not materialized till to date, because it was planned in Islamabad and therefore India persuaded other countries not to participate, and therefore there is no summit level meeting taking place since 2016. BIMSTEC was created in 1997 because as a replacement of SAARC, because it was thought that perhaps Pakistan or India-Pakistan relations are not, letting SAARC function. As of today, while SAARC's intra-region trade is 5%, BIMSTEC also in the last 23 years has not gone beyond 6%. Whereas SAARC has a proper institutional headquarters at Nepal, Kathmandu, has the requisite infrastructure, the requisite human resource staff. BIMSTEC has not developed that type of infrastructure as in the last 23 years. BIMSTEC was a brainchild of India because it wanted to sort of bypass SAARC. Its own trade with BIMSTEC is not more than 5% with the BIMSTEC countries. So it has really not find itself as a replacement of SAARC. And BIMSTEC is not, by the way, an intra-regional organization. It is an inter-regional organization because it has got Thailand also as a part of it. So the point is that while the idea and why Pakistan has been isolated from BIMSTEC, why Afghanistan has been isolated from BIMSTEC. So if the intent was really to support and help these regional countries and their economies and their millions of poor people, it should have delivered. It has not delivered.
Now, in other stories, Sri Lanka experienced yet another good day in the coronavirus front, with the island's recovery rate hitting the 75% mark. The virus situation seems to be largely under control, with no community infections reported since the end of April. The country only has just over 450 active cases of COVID-19, with over 1,450 patients having fully recovered from the virus. Since the last community transmission was reported on the 30th of April, all the COVID-19 infections have been recorded from within the Navy cluster and from among overseas returnees. However, the country has been able to successfully deal with infections, made evident with Sri Lanka recording its highest recovery rate to date at 75.48%. A total of 1,472 people have fully recovered from the virus since its outbreak in the island, leaving just 467 active cases. Meanwhile, all 3 COVID-19 infections that were confirmed within the island yesterday are imported cases. 2 among them are Sri Lankan returnees from Kuwait who are undergoing quarantine at the Trincomalee and Minneria facilities, while the remaining person is an Indian sailor who was sent back from Qatar after testing positive for the virus. In the meantime, with 60 days passing by since the first Navy sailor tested positive for COVID-19, a total of 901 naval personnel have been diagnosed with the virus so far. From that, however, 771 naval personnel have completely recovered from the coronavirus, leaving only 130 naval personnel under treatment. In a separate development, 190 Sri Lankans were repatriated from India today. From them, 146 persons arrived from Chennai, while the remaining 44 arrived from Mumbai. Another 60 Sri Lankans from London also arrived to the country today. All returnees were subjected to PCR tests and were directed to quarantine centres. We will see you shortly after this break. Stay tuned.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය පැතිරීම වළක්වන්න සබන් යොදා දෑත් සෝදන්න.
Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, more facts arousing suspicion of negligence, indifference and overall dereliction of duty on part of the police was revealed before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the Sunday terror attacks. It was revealed before the Commission that the former officer in charge of the Kathankudi police had not performed his duty when Easter attacks ringleader Zahran Hashim's faction violently clashed with another in 2017. What's more, it was also brought to light that Zahran and his accomplices could have been arrested without a warrant owing to the nature of offences they had committed during the clash. Chief Inspector of Police Nishantha Prabhat Kasturiarachi, who served as the officer in charge of the Kathankudi police from August 2017 to January 2020, gave evidence yesterday before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the Easter Sunday spate of terror of 2019. He said that on the 10th of March in 2017, a clash erupted between the faction of National Tawheed Jamaat's Zahran Hashim and Sunnatul Wal Jamaat's Rauf Maulavi at the Aliyar Junction in Kathankudi. The witness added that Zahran's faction used swords, daggers and petrol bombs to attack, and after the clash, Zahran Hashim, Mohammed Rilwan, Ami Mohammed and Yusuf Anwar fled the area. He noted that although there was a case pertaining to the incident at the Batticaloa Magistrates Court, when he took over as OIC of Kathankudi Police, he was unable to arrest absconding Zahran and his cohort. The Commission then asked the witness as to why an open warrant was not obtained for the suspect's arrest from the Batticaloa Magistrates Court. The former OIC of Kathankudi Police replied that since a government analyst's report had not been submitted, a warrant could not be obtained until the Easter Sunday attacks. When the Commission asked the witness whether the government analyst's department was notified of the matter, the former OIC of Kathankudi Police said that he has no recollection of it. After perusing the court report, the members of the Commission said that the government analyst's report on the incident had been submitted to the Batticaloa Magistrates Court on the 30th of January 2018. The witness replied saying that he was unaware of it and as such, a warrant was not obtained. The Additional Solicitor General who represented the Attorney General's Department then divulged the content of the B report, which had enough information to arrest Zahran and his accomplices without waiting for the government analyst's report. She highlighted to the Commission 5 offences contained in the B report, which enables Zahran's arrest sans a warrant. What's more, it was further emphasised to the Commission that Zahran had levelled death threats on Facebook to Inspector Nishantha Gunatilaka, who earlier conducted investigations while serving as the OIC of crime at the Kathankudi Police. The Commission then asked the witness, even if attention did not fall on these facts, whether statements were recorded from at least Zahran's father or family members who were in the area of Kathankudi. The reply of former OIC of Kathankudi Police Nishantha Kasturiarachi was no. The Commission then asked him whether he at least accepts now that Zahran and his cohort could have been arrested sans warrants in 2018. The witness accepted it before the Commission. When former OIC of Kathankudi Police Nishantha Kasturiarachi was asked as to why he previously told the Commission that there wasn't enough evidence, he replied that his earlier statement was erroneous. The Commission then asked the witness as to why he wasn't diligent over this case, which was being heard before the Batticaloa Magistrates Court. In his reply, the witness accepted that he did not implement certain provisions. When asked whether he accepts that he did not perform his duty properly, former OIC of Kathankudi Police Nishantha Kasturiarachi remained silent. The Commission then asked whether something was recovered from a plot of land in the area of Ollikulam owned by one of Zahran's brothers, Rilwan Hashim. The former OIC of Kathankudi Police replied, saying that a cache of swords, both imported from China and locally manufactured, was recovered by the Criminal Investigation Department and that they are similar to other swords recovered from mosques from various parts of the country following the Easter Sunday attacks. Now, the chairman of the Election Commission, Mahinda Deshapre, states that exhibiting posters, cutouts and candidates' numbers can lead to arrests even without a warrant. He made these comments during a meeting worked off to discuss reinforcing the election law at the Election Secretariat today. In the meantime, election rehearsals with regard to the upcoming polls were also held in 2 areas of Colombo during the day. A special election dry run was worked off today at Sri Vikramapura Community Centre in Mattakkuliya and the Sama Viharaya in Dematagoda.
විශේෂ ආකාර කොටසක් නේ උතුරු කොළඹ මැද කොළඹ දෙමටගොඩ ඒ වගේ තැනක ඡන්ද විසීම පැවැත්වීමේ අවශ්‍යතාවය අපිට තිබුණා. මේ පවත්වපුවාගේ සාමාන්‍ය කාලය කොපමණම එනවද ඒ හින්දා කාලෙ දික්කිරීමක් වෙනවද ඔබතුමාට? ඒ දැනට තීරණය කරලා නැහැ. සමහර වෙලාවට පස්වර පහ වෙනකන් දීර්ඝ කරන්න කමිෂන් සභාව තීරණය කරන්න ඉඩ තියෙනවා.
In the meantime, a discussion on resolving election disputes and enforcing election law was also worked off today at the Election Secretariat.
අපිට තියෙන එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි දීර්ඝ කාලයක් තිබිච්ච මේ ඡන්ද කාර්යාලවල කටවුට් ප්‍රදර්ශනය කරන්න නොදීම. ඒක නිසා ඔවුන්ට කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද ක්‍රියා කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. හැබැයි අපි මේ කාර්යාලවල පක්ෂයේ නම සහ ඡන්ද ලකුණ නැත්නම් ස්වාධීන කණ්ඩායම සහ ලකුණ ප්‍රදර්ශනය කරන්න අවසර දීලා තියෙනවා. නමුත් අපේක්ෂකයන්ගේ රුව හෝ අංක ප්‍රදර්ශනය කරන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන එකත් අපි කියලා තියෙනවා. පෝස්ටර් කටවුට් අංක ප්‍රදර්ශනය කිරීම වරෙන්තුවක් නැතිව අත්අඩංගුවට ගත හැකි වරදක්. ඒවට පොලිසිය නඩු පවරනවා.
Now, circling back to the Easter Sunday terror attacks, the Criminal Investigation Department provided a further investigative report to the Fort Magistrates Court in Colombo yesterday pertaining to the attacks of last year. During the investigations, revelations have been made regarding the training given to 24 students sent to madrasa schools in Puntland by suicide bomber Zahran Hashim and others. The Criminal Investigations Department presented a further investigation report to the Fort Magistrates Court in Colombo yesterday pertaining to the Easter Sunday terror attacks that took place last year. The report stated that under the Prevention of Terrorism Act, the CID is conducting further investigations into lawyer Hijaz Hizbullah, who is being detained by the CID. According to investigations that have been carried out so far, 7 phone numbers and 9 mobile phones have been found to have been registered under lawyer Hizbullah's national identity card number. Revelations had also been made regarding 24 children who were sent to Al-Shuharia Madrasa School in Puntland from the Save the Pearls Society, where Hijaz Hizbullah had held the title of chairman and also membership. The CID told the Fort Magistrates Court that among the 24 children, 10 testified, identifying the lawyer in question to have conducted lectures and trained the children to have hatred towards other races and religions. One child among the 10 had given evidence saying that a video of an Air Force bombing and visuals of dead people shown to them by Mohammad Kazim Mohammad Zahran, who led the Easter Sunday attack, Ilham Mohammad Ibrahim and Mohammad Ibrahim Mohammad Naufar had visited the madrasa. From among the 10 children, another child gave evidence saying that lawyer Hizbullah had given a lecture at the madrasa. The child further said that the lawyer had shown them a video of the war between Israel and Palestine and said that the Israeli Christians have taken our mosques under control and that the only way to make them afraid is to attack the Christians in Sri Lanka. The child also said that another individual named Hasir Naufar conducted another lecture in the month of December in 2018, saying that in Israel they teach if one person dies, another will remain, and that we should also learn similar. The child quoted Naufar as saying that if one person is to be reduced, one person has to die, and that we have to save our religion from the Christians, and that we must work against the religion of Catholicism. In the evidence given by the child, it was further stated that in January 2019, Zahran Hashim had arrived at the madrasa in a white KDH van and conducted a lecture. Zahran Hashim had said that if the children did as he said, he would help their families. Zahran had added that they must be willing to give their lives for the religion and asked them who had the courage to fight to save the religion. When some of the children had said that they were willing to fight for the religion, the principal asked those willing to fight to remain and others to leave. As part of the evidence, the student said that some of the adults also stayed back. Another student also gave evidence saying that after school they were made to crawl under a line of plastic chairs and were given a training similar to that of the military. The student had also identified lawyer Hizbullah after an image of him was shown to him by the CID. The madrasa student went on to say that Rekaz Maulvi put him in a sack and continued to beat him as punishment for a mistake. The student further stated that people who called themselves Isha Hajjar along with 4 Arabs came to the madrasa via helicopter and gave all students 3,000 rupees and gave the principal Arabic money. Giving evidence to the CID, another student studying at the madrasa said that speaking in Sinhala was prohibited and doing so was met with punishment. The student further said that Zahran had come to the madrasa quite a few times and that his brother Rilwan once dismantled a gun and a bomb. When the picture was shown to another madrasa student, the student identified Mohammed Rilwan and others and had given evidence saying that Mohammed Rilwan had given a demonstration on gun use. The evidence given by the student further states that the principal of the school was also present when the children were given guns. The CID officials informed the court that according to testimony given by these students, in addition to the suicide bomber Zahran Hashim, Ilham Mohammed Ibrahim, Mohammed Jifri Fatima, attorney Hijaz Hizbullah, Mohammed Azam Mohammed Mubarak and others have come to the madrasa school from time to time to conduct workshops, lectures and training programs. Now, the entire country witnessed a spike in underworld activities with the relaxation of the island-wide curfew put in place to curb the COVID-19 virus, giving rise to serious public concern. The police special task force, however, is cracking down on these underworld figures and their nefarious activities to bring them to book. With that being the case, 2 more underworld figures who are associates of other notorious underworld figures were arrested in raids conducted by the STF. The Organised Crime Control Unit of the Police Special Task Force arrested underworld figure Lakitha Vishan Jayathilaka alias Puita in the area of Ranala in Hangwala yesterday. The suspect had been in communication with remanded underworld figure Indunil Kumara alias Indra via telephone and had heavily plagued members of the public with extortions and other criminal activities. At the time of his arrest, the suspect had been in possession of a sword, a suspicion-arousing telephone and 5 SIM cards. The police STF said that the suspect was taken to the Hangwala police for further investigations. In the meantime, another criminal by the name Anuradha Silva, alias Rankatia, was arrested by the STF yesterday at the Navaloka junction of the Mangulpokuna Road in Ragama. 8 grams of heroin and a vehicle which had been in the possession of the suspect were also taken into custody. The arrested is a disciple of racketeer and underworld figure Ratmalane Rohana, also known as Roha. Police said that the suspect named Sabitha, arrested from Ragama yesterday, is also a disciple of Roha. We will see you once more after this break. Bear with us. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, the Colombo Stock Exchange has announced changes in S&P SL20 index constituents made by S&P Dow Jones indices at the 2020 mid-year index rebalance. The new inclusions and exclusions will be effective from Monday, the 22nd of this month. The new exclusions from the index are Tokyo Cement, Expo Lanka Holdings, Janashakti Insurance, Lanka IOC, SoftLogic Life Insurance and Union Bank of Colombo. The inclusions, meanwhile, include Central Finance, Ceylon Tobacco, LOLC Holdings, Melster Corp, Richard Pearce & Company, as well as Ceylon Bank Limited. Now, merchandise exports for the month of May this year has bounced back to $602 million, which prompted the Export Development Board to say that Sri Lanka is in the path of recovery faster than anticipated. The export sector took a hit in the last few months owing to the coronavirus restrictions. Merchandise exports for the month of May has bounced back to $602 million compared to the previous month of April, which was only $277 million. The Export Development Board says that the new data comes from the Customs Provisional Statistics. It says that the increase of $325 million is a positive signal that Sri Lanka is in the path of recovery faster than expected. However, the exports are behind $355 million compared to $957 million recorded in May 2019. The EDB says that almost all export sectors fared well in the month of May in comparison to the last month. Two main export sectors were namely tea and apparel, which recorded $108 million and $219 million respectively in the month of May. In the meantime, total export earnings for January to May in 2020 was $3,456 million compared to $4,845 million recorded in a similar period of the previous year, which is a decline of 28.7%. The figure, however, is a 32% achievement of revised merchandise export target of $10,750 million in 2020. The main export sectors, apparel and tea, recorded $1,535 million and $457 million respectively. The top export destinations during the period from January to May of 2020 were the United States of America with $905 million, the United Kingdom with $296 million, India with exports of $221 million, Germany, which accounted for $196 million worth of exports, and Italy with $136 million. Demand for safe havens rose and global equity markets turned south yesterday after the announcement of Apple of shutting down 11 stores in the US temporarily as coronavirus cases continue to rise, rekindling fears of a deadly second wave of the pandemic. News of Apple's move involving stores in Florida, Arizona, South Carolina and North Carolina doused hopes for a quick economic recovery that has spurred risk appetite early in the day, driving up European and US stocks about 1%. Stocks in Europe pared some gains but closed higher before the Apple news broke. MSCI's gauge of stocks across the globe shed 0.2%, while the Pan-European Stock 600 index closed up 0.56%. Furthermore, the emerging market stocks rose 0.6%. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 204.38 points to 25,875.72. The S&P 500 lost 17.22 points to 3,098.12, and the Nasdaq Composite added 3.07 points to 9,946.12. Oil prices, meanwhile, rose yesterday but pulled back sharply from early highs on concerns that continued spread of the novel coronavirus could halt the United States economic rebound. Crude benchmarks followed other assets lower, pulling back from session highs after Boston Federal Reserve President said that more fiscal and monetary support for the U.S. economy will be likely needed. Brent crude rose 61 cents to $42.12 a barrel after trading up to $42.92 a barrel and then briefly turning negative. U.S. crude was 75 cents higher at $39.53 a barrel after earlier touching $40.49. U.S. crude is up 9.2% so far this week, while Brent is up 9%. The highs early in the session came after Iraq and Kazakhstan, during a meeting of an OPEC Plus panel last Thursday, pledged to comply better with oil cuts. This means curbs by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and allies known as OPEC Plus could deepen in July. Now, protests continued to rage for a fourth straight day today in parts of India against China after its troops killed 20 Indian soldiers and injured more than 70 at a disputed Himalayan border site. Protesters in several cities staged demonstrations where they burnt effigies of Chinese President Xi Jinping and urged people to boycott Chinese products. A peaceful protest urging both sides to resolve the dispute peacefully was also held in eastern Kolkata city by Chinese Indian nationals. Troops of the two countries remain locked in a face-off at several locations along the poorly defined line of action control, despite talks between local commanders to de-escalate. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.